Welcome back. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has labelled the DA as disingenuous regarding their opposition to tax increases in the 2025-2026 budget. Addressing the finance committees in Parliament, Godongwana says the party had previously endorsed tax increases, including a proposed VAT hike, in exchange for wanting progressive laws that have just been put in place to be scrapped, such as the Expropriation Act. A number of political parties are standing firm and banding together to reject the proposed 0.5 percentage point increase in VAT.
Where is the DA on comma 5? The DA has sent a letter to the president accepting comma 5 in exchange for things which are outside the budget, like the Expropriation Act and so on and so on. Why am I making this statement, Chair? Is that we are more than happy to interact with Parliament and discuss the modalities if there are any changes in the budget, and that those changes be confined to a debate about the budget. We accept that the Parliament has got authority to amend the budget, but we would plead that the matters be focused on how to make this budget efficient. And in this regard, we're approaching this thing with an open mind, and we'll accept your guidance in this regard.
DA National Spokesperson Willie Aucamp says this is not correct. He joins me now live. A very good evening to you, Willie. Now, you're saying what we've just heard there with the Finance Minister saying you have accepted the 0.5 VAT increase in exchange for things that are outside of the budget is incorrect. Take us back. What have you accepted, if anything, and what was the letter, if that was written to the President, saying?
Good evening, Masa. Masa, yeah, what the Minister there says is definitely not correct. He is nitpicking out of a long 13-page document that we sent to the President, in which we set out the economical growth reforms that we want to put on the table. We've mentioned quite a number of them and things that can be done immediately. So to come and nitpick about the Expropriation Act is definitely disingenuous from the Minister. It is high time that the ANC realize that they do not govern alone anymore. This document that both myself and the Minister referred to was sent to the President and the Presidency 12 days ago already. We've received feedback today on that document. And the feedback was that the President said that he does not agree with the document and that we must just simply support the budget. Now, there's absolutely no way in which we can be a common denominator in the ANC's failures. We saw over 30 years what ANC budgets looked like, how we descended from growth to a total failure when it comes to growth, a failure when it comes to job creation. And the Democratic Alliance cannot be part of that. That is why we have put on the table these reforms, which includes quite a lot of things. And if we've got time, I can go through each and every one of them. But to nitpick one item out of a 13-page document and say that we try to bring in additional issues into the budget is just not right. And just to correct the Minister, when we are talking about growth, the Expropriation Act in its current form stands slap bang in the middle, preventing economical growth. Who would want to come and invest in this country and maybe build a factory or whatever it might be that they want to invest in, knowing that government might be able to take away that property without expropriating them? The Democratic Alliance said that we must put on the table that the courts will always have the final say in determining the value of any expropriated property or property to be expropriated. It must be the court. It cannot be a government official. And secondly, no compensation should be changed with the constitutionally accepted just and equitable. A court under the just and equitable norm can apply any compensation. But we need to change that. We need to create investor confidence in this country.
Okay,
we need to create an environment that will enable us to grow this economy.
Willie, in that 13-page document, does the DA state anything about the Expropriation Act as a tool to say, please change it the way it looks in its current form, and then we'll come and support your budget. Are you saying that if they relook at that, that you would be willing to, in and among other things? Are you saying a lot of other things?
Let me read that to you. I've got it open in front of me. It says, the Expropriation Act to be amended to align processes and sequencing to ensure the appropriate court approves compensation before a notice to appropriate has been issued, and to replace references to nil compensation with the constitutional formulation that says, in brackets, just and equitable compensation. That is to enhance investor confidence in this country, Masa. But that is one of a few. I can mention a lot of the others that we've said.
So then it's not completely incorrect, Willie, if the minister is saying that you are using things like the Expropriation Act to use as a bargaining chip, because you're saying, look, we will support you, even though when their budget was initially postponed, on your DA website, it does say that the postponement resulted from the DA's resolute opposition to the ANC's plan to hike VAT at a time when millions of South Africans are already suffering under the cost of living. So was it about the millions of South Africans who are already suffering under a tough cost of living, or was it about bargaining about other policies that you would like to see?
Masa, it was not only about the VAT, it was about a budget that is not pro-growth, a medium-term budget policy statement that must be there, must have growth and job creation measures in it. We must have cost savings. South Africa does not have an income problem. We've got an expenditure problem. And they just refuse. I mean, to come and again, to nitpick one item out of a document of 13 pages, and I've just read you that item. All the other items has also been rejected. So how do the ANC think they are going to govern this country together with us in a government of national unity if they bluntly refuse to implement any of the measures that we've put on the table? And again, let the minister try to explain to anybody that the Expropriation Act does not have a direct link to economical growth. And what we've put on the table there is not to withdraw the Expropriation Act, it's just to say, let the courts have the final say, not a government official. So what we've put on the table is extremely reasonable. It's not a total 180-degree turnaround of what the Expropriation Act is supposed to be there for. And it initially was supposed to be there to enhance things like putting up a power line or building a dam or building a road. But the ANC has politicized this by trying to fulfill their promise of zero compensation expropriation that they made when they promised the electorate that they would change Section 25 of the Constitution. And that is not what this is for. So what the DA have asked is, let us put measures in place that will enhance economical growth. And if the ANC does not want to do that, we cannot be culprits and co-conspirators with them in implementing a budget that will not work. We've seen over 30 years how the ANC have absolutely trampled on South Africa when it comes to a budget, and the DA will not be forming part of any such a budget that does not have economic reforms, cost-cutting measures, and job creation measures at the forefront of that budget.
So you're saying that they're also nitpicking at this one act and this one section of this 13-page document, but you're also nitpicking on the side of the nil compensation when it comes to the Expropriation Act as well. And that is it's in limited cases that we will see that happen, and under exceptional cases where there will be nil compensation. Why, as the DA, are you so adamant for this particular part of the Expropriation Act to be modified?
To enhance economical growth. If you talk about just and equitable compensation that can be determined by a court, every person in South Africa and out there in the wide world will see that they will still be protected. If you talk about a government official on any one of the three levels of government, whether it's national, provincial, or local, having the say in determining the amount without a court having the last say, it is contra-economical growth. So what we've put on the table is extremely reasonable. We are a country that believes in our Constitution. Our Constitution talks about just and equitable compensation. Why change it? The President himself, President Ramaphosa, was part and center of the drafting of this Constitution. Why don't he stick to what he signed and drafted in the beginning, many, many years ago, which we all believe in. Let him just stick to that. Let him give people the assurance that not a government official, but a court will have the final say. And I can promise you, Masa, that will increase investor confidence, which will in turn contribute towards a growth policy in this country, which we so desperately need.
Well,
The
obviously,
ANC cannot continue as if they are governing alone, and they must realize that.
Just in the interest of time, while I have you, I want to talk about the GNU. Where does that leave your relationship? Because it seems that you're skating on thin ice with each other here. You can't agree on anything since the GNU. The DA hasn't really been able to get their policies put forward and implemented in any way whatsoever. So where does this leave this relationship should your 13-page document not be taken into consideration?
Well, firstly, if the ANC doesn't care if South Africa becomes a wasteland, they just don't mind, as long as it becomes an ANC wasteland. So we cannot go along with their policies. They need to listen to us. We are partners in the GNU. If the ANC is going to garner support from parties outside of the GNU, we will see that as a vote of no confidence within this GNU. And if they then garner support from parties outside of the GNU, they must go and try to govern this country with those parties.
Does that mean you'd be out of the GNU? Would that mean if the ANC does get other parties to back him on this budget, the DA then will see it as a vote of no confidence in the GNU and therefore break away?
If the ANC goes and work with parties from outside this government of national unity, why do they need us? Why should we be there? It is the ANC that is putting the GNU at risk by not listening to their partners, not negotiating in good faith. The Democratic Alliance has never negotiated this budget in the media. But what did the minister do today? He's negotiating it in the open public so that the media can see it. We see cabinet meetings as confidential. I'm not a member of cabinet. I don't even know, even though I'm the party spokesperson, what is being negotiated on cabinet level, because we respect the confidentiality thereof. So if the ANC wants to carry on, it is the ANC that is putting this government of national unity at risk. And they must ask themselves whether they are willing to govern this country with people that clearly wants to break this country. I must also say, Masa, that it's been clear, if you read the media reports, that all the parties outside of the government of national unity have rejected the ANC's plan. So the ANC must come and negotiate in good faith. From the Democratic Alliance aside, Masa, we know we are a 22% party. The ANC is a 39% party. The DA will not get everything that we want all the time. But so the ANC can also not get everything that they want. If the ANC implements a budget with other parties, how can they expect the DA to be a passenger on that bus and go along? People will criticize us for doing that. How can we be part of a government where we weren't part of the drafting of the budget, which is at the essence of any government? So the ANC need to really realize now that they need to talk to us. We've got to do it in good faith. The Democratic Alliance is still open for talks. I saw that Mr. Fikile Mbalula this afternoon also said that the ANC is still willing to talk. So that is a good sign. And let us hope that we can sort this out. But if the ANC is going to get parties in from outside the GNU to pass this budget, then they are welcome to go and govern with those parties. We will not form part of a government where we were excluded in the formation of the budget. That must be made extremely clear.
Willie Aucamp, thank you so much for your time this evening. That's the DA National Spokesperson, Willie Aucamp.